Good morning. We're in Module 6. We have the Module 6 discussion. Just want to cover a few basics just to get you guys started here. So the idea this week is that we're, yet again, working with this real estate company. I hope you guys are all very, very familiar with this data at this point. So we have the B&K Real Estate Company sells homes and is currently serving the Southeast region. It has recently expanded to cover the Northeast states. The B&K Realtors are excited to now cover the entire East Coast and are working to prepare their Southern agents to expand their reach to the Northeast. They've hired your company to analyze the Northeast home listing prices in order to give information to their agents about the mean listing price at 95% confidence level. Your company offers two analysis packages, one based on a sample of 100 listings and another based on a sample of 1,000 listings. Because there is an additional cost for data collection, your company charges more for the package with 1,000 listings than for the package with 100 listings. So, for the 100 listings, you have a 95% confidence interval for the mean of the Northeast house listing price has a margin error of $25,000. The cost for the service to B&K is $2,000. Then for the 1,000 listings, you have a 95% confidence interval for the mean of the Northeast house listing price has a margin of error of $8,000 and a cost for service to B&K of $10,000. The B&K management team does not understand the trade-off between confidence level, sample size, and margin of error. They would like you to come back with your recommendation of the sample size that would provide the sales agents with the best understanding of Northeast home prices at the lowest cost for service to B&K. In other words, which option is preferable? So you have right here, spending more on data collection and having a smaller margin of error, spending less on data collection, having a larger margin of error, or choosing an option somewhere in the middle. Now, I don't even, the thing is, it's kind of confusing with this third one. We were told that we offer two options. So maybe you could talk about, maybe we could do an option for, let's say, 5,000 listings or something like that. So you have to choose which of these three options you recommend to this client. The idea is, if you remember from the Zybooks material and from my lesson this week, you have a confidence interval. I'm just going to write CI, and it's equal to, you have the sample mean, well, in this case, X bar, and it's plus or minus that margin of error. Right? So in this idea is that we are given the margin of error as 25,000. So now you know that your range for your confidence interval is going to be a $50,000 difference. Then for the, and that's for the listing price. So you know now that your confidence interval for that smaller sample size is going to have a range of 50,000, whereas this one only has a $16,000 range. That's a difference. So that's something that's really important to keep in mind. So although we're not given all the information, we're given that margin of error. So, so for your initial post, formulate a recommendation and write a confidence statement in the context of this scenario. For the purposes of writing your confidence statement, assume the sample mean house listing price is $310,000 for both packages. So you should say, I am a certain amount confident, the true mean, and then interpret a confidence interval. So remember, if you do a 95% confidence interval, we can interpret it. Let's say you have just any, I'm just going to give a range of numbers. I'm not going to go with the numbers that we have here. Let's say I find a confidence interval that's just, let's say, 10,000 to 20,000. And let's say that was a 95% confidence interval. Let's just say some example where I found this confidence interval. I would say that I'm 95% confident that the true mean of the population is between 10,000 and 20,000. So that's one interpretation of confidence interval. So it's even giving you the framework there for how they want you to word it. So explain the factors that went into your recommendation, including a discussion of the margin of error. So you need to think about, how does this margin of error for the listing price, how could that affect them? So if that means that they could have a very wide range of listing prices. They could be listing their houses wrong, or they could be listing them correctly. What's the trade-off between $2,000 cost and a $10,000 cost? So there's not like a right or wrong answer as far as what your recommendation is. You just need to say what you think is more valuable to the client, because they are concerned about keeping costs down. And I will tell you, this is a very realistic scenario. When I was working at in statistical analysis for credit risk, For most US companies, pulling data was not difficult. They could do it on their own. However, for other countries that were less developed, their data infrastructure was often also less developed, and pulling data was a struggle, and cleaning the data, making sure that it was entered correctly and all that was extremely difficult. And I remember sitting down with a client, and we were talking about the issues with their data, and they literally looked at me and just said, "This is the best we can do." So you have to remember that pulling data isn't always as simple as being given an Excel spreadsheet. It can be very difficult for clients, and it can be very costly depending on the situation. So you do need to consider cost versus the benefit based on the margin of error. That's a very important thing. And remember, what that gives you is a wider or a narrower range of values for where you believe the true population mean is for the listing price. So think about that impact. So again, the most important things are to hit on both of these points on your initial post and just put your thoughts and your reasons in there. Like I said, there's not a right or a wrong recommendation. You just need to back up your recommendation with why you are recommending it. Like, what is the purpose or what is the reason for that? And then for your response posts, choose 2 different confidence intervals for your responses. Do you think the agents would prefer a different confidence interval than their management? And what advantages and disadvantages would there be to having different confidence intervals for the agents? Explain your thought process and reasoning in your response. Sorry. The idea here is it's the management that's making the decision about this analysis. They're the ones spending the money, but it's the agents that are going to be utilizing this tool. So think a little bit about, do you think the agents would prefer a different confidence interval than your recommendation, or what management would choose? So again, there's no right or wrong answer for which method you choose. However, you do need to support it. You can't just say, I recommend option 1 and leave it at that. You do need to follow this. Include an interpretation of the confidence interval based on this sample mean of 310,000 and explain your factors. A little bit of insight. You can even do a little bit of research online and see if there's anything that you find applicable. So I hope that helps some of you that are feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Again, the most important thing here is that you're given the margin of error, so that's going to help you. Remember, your confidence interval is going to be sample mean, which we're given as 310,000 plus or minus the margin of error. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, the discussion 6 module prompt, or any other material this week, let me know.